Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hidden Video Game Details, the series that aims to show you things that you may not have known about your favourite games so that you can look really clever in front of your friends. In today's episode, we reload with style in Resident Evil 4, we give the all okay in Titanfall 2, and we rock out with Homer Simpson in the Simpsons Hit and Run. As always, if you think you know of a detail that I'm yet to cover, then the best places to let me know are in the comments section or on my social media accounts. The links, as always, are in the description. Oh, and leaving a like on any of my videos always makes me that little bit happier. Anyway, without further delay, let's get started. So in the last episode of this series, I foolishly said this. I'm pretty certain that is the last hidden dialogue found in Ratchet and Clank. Well, as I kind of expected, you guys did in fact prove me wrong, and managed to come up with one more example of hidden dialogue in Ratchet and Clank. Early on in the game, you're instructed to pick up the combustor. If you ignore this rather simple instruction, this will happen.
Fortunately for our furry hero, a conveniently placed crate provided Ratchet with a combustor. I said, provides Ratchet with a combustor! Oh, come on, grab the combustor. It's right here.
So Captain Quark will become frustrated with your inability to follow such simple instructions and remind you exactly where the combustor is. Now surely this has to be the last example of hidden dialogue in Ratchet and Clank, but I will be keeping a close eye on the comments to see if you guys can prove me wrong again. Speaking of hidden dialogue, up next is the excellent Halo 2. Now somewhat controversially, I've never been a huge fan of the campaigns in Halo games. I've always been more of a multiplayer guy. Of course, I know that the Halo campaigns, particularly the original 3, are highly regarded by fans, but for some reason, I've just never played through them. Well, that was until last week. It turns out that Halo 2 is an absolute goldmine for hidden dialogue. There's even a skull modifier that you can turn on to increase the likelihood of hearing such dialogue. Here are just a few of my favourites I found whilst playing.
Sir, this is getting freaky. Sir, this is getting a little freaky.
Why you oughta...
How's it feel to be dead? Be better than that. Same team, pendejo.
Whoa. It's like a postcard. Dear Sarge, kicking ass in outer space, wish you were here.
I heard that, jackass!
Now I'm certain that I've barely scratched the surface when it comes to hidden dialogue in this game, or in any of the other Halo games for that matter. So if you have a favourite voice line that you think deserves a mention, be sure to let me know and I'll do my best to feature it. Next up is another brilliant first person shooter. This time it's Titanfall 2. In episode 37 we covered some pretty cool details from Respawn's fast paced shooter, with my personal favourite being what would happen if we repeatedly ignored Ash's instructions to jump onto a moving platform.
There is only one way out. I will hold the platform for you if you require more time. Well done, pilot. I will take it from here.
Well, once again, thanks to you guys, it turns out that I missed something. If you jump onto the final platform, but then quickly jump back off, Ash will say this.
There is only one way out. I will hold the platform for you if you require more time. Well done, pilot. I will take it from here. Very disappointing. I expected so much more of you.
So this is sort of like a secret game over, and due to the actions needed to trigger this dialogue, I'd be surprised if many of you have seen this one before. I mean, it's not like a lot of people would have thought to jump back off the platform after landing on it. Next up, at the beginning of the Into the Abyss level, if you jump into the water, you can say this.
Careful, pilot.
I'm not afraid of a little water, BT.
Understood. Adding to memory. Careful, pilot.
Jump in, BT. The water's fine.
Recreational activities are non-essential to the mission.
So you don't actually need to jump down here to progress, but just in case you fancied a quick dip, Respawn made sure to add some dialogue, which is pretty cool. The final detail from Titanfall 2 is perhaps the coolest yet. On the Effect and Cause level, you get access to a time-travelling glove. The glove allows you to jump between the past and present, even going as far as showing the corpses of people you killed whilst in the past, now decomposed in the present. Well, something much cooler than that can be seen when performing the leap between past and present. So, in an almost blink and you'll miss it moment, Cooper will give an OK sign with his hand. Now, I spent a long time spamming A to get this animation to happen, and I'm not saying that you have to or anything, but a like would make me feel a lot better about all of that wasted time tapping the same button over and over and over again. Sticking with Titanfall now, well, sort of anyway, for a really quick detail from Apex Legends. If you shoot the Eva 8 shotgun, the bullet spread will look like this. So the spread of the Eva 8 is the number 8. Interestingly, the Eva 8 shotgun in Titanfall 2 doesn't have the same spread. So with seemingly every game and its dog getting a remaster these days, one game that will probably never be remastered due to licensing issues and whatnot is the Simpsons Hit and Run. Hit and Run has become somewhat of a cult classic over the years, with its open world GTA-like take on Springfield being a bright spot at a time when many licensed games were nothing more than shovelware. A large part of what made Hit and Run so good was its ability to make you feel like you're playing an actual episode of the show, with characters behaving as you'd expect they would. Well, the detail from Hit and Run is a fine example of that. During the alien autopsy mission, you have to collect some nuclear waste from Mr. Burns and deliver it to an alien ship. If Homer decides that he'd rather not drive, he can call in a favour from Bart and have him drive instead, leading Homer to do this. So, rather strangely, this is the only time in the game that this animation can be seen. But that's not all. If you cancel the mission, Homer will begin dancing to the beat of the music. As I said, this is the only time in the game that this animation can be seen, so I'm hoping that a lot of you didn't know this detail. So to end today's video, let's take a look at Resident Evil 4. Now, Resi 4 is actually home to one of my favourite details in all of video games, that being where you can piss Carlos off so much that he does this.
Hey, you trying to kill me? Adios, Leon.
Well, this first detail involves everyone's favourite damsel in distress, Ashley. Oh, and before we get into the detail, can I just point out how strange the first thing that Ashley says to Leon is?
Ashley.
Don't come!
I'd love to say that's the first time I've heard a girl say that, but I'd be lying. Anyway, I'm betting that a lot of you already know the detail where you can perv on Ashley by looking up her skirts. Well, the good news is that if you use the armour costume for Ashley, there is absolutely no chance of anyone creeping on her. There is a downside to the armour though, as when trying to catch Ashley, this will happen. So Leon definitely felt the extra weight of the armour, as he can be seen clutching his back afterwards. The final detail for today's video can be seen when using the Chicago typewriter and wearing the Mafia costume. The Chicago typewriter is a machine gun that has unlimited ammunition. However, for some reason, it can be reloaded. Well, this is how a normal reload looks. And here is what happens if you reload 4 times in a row. Now of course I always thought that Leon was cool, but I sure as hell didn't know that he had the moves to back it up. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, then leaving a like is really appreciated. Remember, if you are a fan of Easter eggs, secrets and tiny details in games, then perhaps consider subscribing, as that's what this channel is all about. A big thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.